Hey Oz,
Hey, Curtis.
what movie we watching this week?
We have a movie marriage of WrestleMania, Sherlock Holmes, Bugs
Okay.
Bunny, Bugs Bunny, and an episode of VH1's I Love the 80s. This this week we are watching 1985's Commando.
I love the 80s. This I think I mentioned this at the end of last week's episode when we were covering Conan,
Uh-huh.
where like Commando really defines the 80s
Oh
action
yeah,
movie.
yeah. Even in if you're watching not just even the action movie, but like a big fight scene at the
Yeah.
mall,
Hmm.
and when they go to the hotel, you've got like those like water glass like cubes of
Yeah. Yep.
those stackable blocks of cube.
Which apparently you literally just stack. You
You
you don't
do,
actually
yeah.
actually affix them to anything.
Like the neon signs at the army surplus store. Like
Hmm.
it's just like top to bottom. It's everything. Like you made it in the '80s, and it literally screams, "This is the '80s,"
Yes.
and it was like legit '80s. It wasn't like Hot Tub Time Machine's depiction of what the '80s looked like. This is what
Like
the
no,
'80s.
that was 80s.
This
Like
is what
that
the
was
'80s
it.
look
Yeah.
like. So,
It's like a time
it
capsule.
really is. It really is. So, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks, the weekly podcast where we take a monthly theme and go back and forth with it. This month's theme is 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, and we are in week 2 of the theme. But before we get rolling into all of that, we should probably introduce ourselves to those people that sat out the first entire season and just joined us for season 2. I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we are here again to talk about quite possibly my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Just because of the amount of times I watched this on HBO growing up.
And
But
I did not grow up on this movie. There was a few other Schwarzenegger movies that I did grow up on, but
uh,
Commando was not one of them. So I
Commando,
don't
yeah.
yeah, I don't have that sort of like childhood nostalgia fondness like you do.
Yeah, and it's like there's so many great Arnold movies that like this one just really sticks in my head, and which I think I mentioned last week. I feel like it's almost underrated because when you think Arnold, you talk about Conan, you talk about the Terminator, you talk about
Mm.
Predator, and it's like, but this is one of those that it's not as far down the list as like a Red Dawn or something like that, but it's just one of those that like is in my mind like top notch, but everybody kind of forgets about it.
Well, there was no sequels.
No,
It I think it came out the same year as Conan the Destroyer. We didn't,
yeah,
so like there was another sort of sequel that was there. But yeah, it's bonkers. It's
hmm
80s,
oh yeah.
and it defines a Schwarzenegger movie.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is my movie this week, but I do want to give quick shout out to Patreon subscribers Don S and Melissa L. Thank you again for your monthly patronage. You can find a link below if you'd like to join the list of names that we call out at the beginning of every episode. So, characters. Who do we have?
Characters. Yep, you got the plot this week, so I got the characters. I got 9 here, although only a couple are important. So,
Okay.
starting with most important, we have Colonel John Matrix.
a natural Austrian name.
Yes, John Matrix.
In West Germany.
I think when he said he was East German.
East
which was
German, yeah. East German.
East German, so he was on the wrong side of the Berlin Wall there.
Yeah.
Played by the one and only Arnold Schwarzenegger. We have Jenny Matrix, played by
Jenny Matrix.
Jenny.
Yeah, Jennifer Louise Matrix.
Played by Alyssa Milano. And we have Cindy, everyone's favorite character from Commando, played by Ray Don Chong.
Yeah.
Is she or isn't she a hostage character?
Right. I think it's up to her.
Yeah.
Like, does she want to be?
Yeah. We have President Arias, a deposed dictator / president of some made up South American country.
Valverde.
There we go. Played by Dan Hedaya.
Yeah. I did read in the trivia that Valverde is obviously a made up fictional country, but like Hollywood made it up so that they could depict like Cuba without calling it Cuba. And so this, like, Valverde shows up in this. They mention it in Predator. They mention it in Die Hard 2. So it's like it's got legs as being this like island country with, you know, that's very dictator based. But apparently all you have to do is if you kill the current leader of Valverde, then you become the new leader of Valverde.
Yeah.
That's President Arias's plan.
It's like God, there's got to be some kind of some comp there. I'm forgetting. You know, it's like, you know, you challenge someone to the Thunderdome,
right? Yeah,
and you take the role on the council.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of an X-Men comic reference that probably no other listener would get, but it's kind of that sort of thing. Yeah. We have Captain Bennett. Bennett, played by the Road Warriors, Vernon Wells, also former Blue Jays center fielder.
Yeah, exactly. They're interchangeable in this role.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Then we got a handful of sub characters. Major General Franklin Kirby, played by James Olsen. Sully, played by David Patrick Kelly, who's
I love David Patrick Kelly. I like him in everything he's in. He's great in Warriors. Same. He's great in this.
Yes,
he's good.
We have another bad guy, Cook, played by Bill Duke. And then He's a
Green Beret. So
yeah, he is. He is a Green Beret. He'll make sure that you know about it. And then just to list him, we have a random Coast Guard intercept officer played by Bill Paxton.
I forgot he was in this. It was one of those where I'd seen this movie so much. I was finish it up. I was playing it at work while I was working on some things, and then I recognized the voice. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot he was in this movie.
Yeah, Bill Paxton's there.
So.
All right, Oz, what about the plot of 1985's Commando?
We start with a cold open. Movie gets a cold open of a series of murders, but they're very elaborate murders. We start with a garbage truck backing up into a man's cul-de-sac, and he hears it, rushes out, and thankfully everybody delivers the proper entry line to get the sarcastic snide comment back. He comes running out with his garbage, and he's like, oh, you know, I was afraid you'd missed me. And of course, then these two garbage men, which we find out are Sully and another gentleman that we didn't name, and it doesn't matter. He shows up a few times, but he's inconsequential. They just pull machine guns out of the back of the garbage truck, and then, you know, Sully, don't worry, we won't. But then they just light him up. Yeah. You know, just light him up right there in the road. Nobody else comes out. It's like, nope. You know, so this is definitely a movie that turn your brain off and just watch it, because if you start thinking about it, you're going to really find that it's made of Swiss cheese.
Yes. Well, kind of like last week's Conan the Barbarian.
Exactly.
Again, you don't want to think too hard, and you definitely don't want to come to a movie like this looking for political political subtext or social subtext.
So we murder this man and just leave his body laying there. Cut to...
after spraying the corpse with another.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. Forgot they still had some ammunition they hadn't used yet. So, and then we cut to another scene where we see Sully again. Not Sully. That's David. Cook. I said Sully.
Cook. Yeah, it was Cook.
We see Cook. He's now talking to a car dealer, and the man's trying to sell him a Cadillac, and you know he's doing everything that your sleazy car salesman would do. You know, talking him up. Cook gets in the car, turns it on. Yeah, hear the purr, you know, listen to that. And, you know, so, you know, he again drops a one-liner. You know what I like best? The price. As he backs it up. And then
you can't drive that in here.
Then he just drives through the showroom, puts him through the big window, and he's now dead. So he's 2 for 2. Cut to a third, again, still in the cold open, you know, where we see a crew boarding a ship, and we see one of the garbage men from the beginning is on the boat, and this is where we see Bennett for the first time.
Bennett,
and he gets on, and the boat sails off and then blows up. So blows up at the moment that the theme song drops. And that's one thing that I remember very fondly about this movie, even as a kid, is the editing of the music with the action. Like, they would drop that a lot. And it just, even as a kid, I noticed it and I enjoyed it. You know, when the music would start upon some explosion or something. And then we cut to Colonel John Matrix.
John Matrix.
Yeah, so we see Matrix. He's felled a tree
with his bare hands, I think.
Yeah, he took a chainsaw to the tree because he carries it.
The chainsaw in one hand.
Yeah, the chainsaw must have had just enough gas to cut the tree down, but not enough to keep it started to actually cut the tree up. So, you know, Matrix does what anyone would do.
One does.
just puts the entire trunk of the tree on his shoulder to walk back to the cabin.
So he's literally carrying a tree over his shoulder. And not like a little sapling, like a tree.
He's got the entire tree, like, and he's carrying the gigantic chainsaw in the other hand.
Yeah.
And it's as he's walking back. And then we, you know, cut to him. This movie is chock full of montages, by the way.
It's an 80s movie.
It is. And it's like, they're not all like long plot pushing montages either. Sometimes it's just, here's a montage of what Matrix did with that tree. We watch him cut it down. We watch him carry it back. We then watch him chop it into firewood. And then he notices in the world's like, he's got apparently a chrome axe that he's...
That is a shiny axe he's got.
He's chopping wood with a chrome axe. And he notices someone approaching him from behind.
And this is right after we just saw several other people die.
Yeah. So we assume, although we've already seen the shadow of the approaching person, and whoever it is we know is not very big, and she's got like a bob. We can tell it's like a girl by the shadow. But he turns around and it's his daughter Jenny.
So he whips around with the axe, lops the person's head off.
Right.
Jenny,
just like,
no.
Yeah, it's like just like Thulsa Doom did last week. The old fake out. But no, he turns around and he lifts Jenny and he shakes her violently as, you know.
Yeah, he does.
You scared me. And then we get another montage of all the fun they have. They go.
Yeah, they have some fun daddy-daughter moments.
Right. Let's go out here so that I can like hand feed a deer out of my hand.
I know, what was that? I have things that they enjoy. Ice cream cones, and like they do the thing where she like puts the ice cream on his face. And, ha ha ha! Good one, Jenny.
You got me. You know, they hand feed a deer.
He's like, just a random deer in the wilderness comes up,
and he's like throwing her into a pool, and it's like they're just having fun.
They're fishing in what clearly is a Hollywood set.
Oh yeah, by far. It's like you're waiting for like Opie Taylor to come down the road with his fishing pole.
Would you like me to bait your hook, Jenny?
And then they're sitting down. You know, he's reading. He's reading some like Tiger Beat or something like that. You know, that she's left sitting down, and she makes him some sandwiches, and you know, and just, why don't they call him Girl George?
Yeah, I've noticed that one as well.
Yeah, why don't they call him Girl George and just save the confusion? And and she's like, you know, and then he eats. I don't know what she put in the sandwich, and she won't tell him what she put in the sandwich. He like takes a bite, and it's like shoe leather or something, and you're like, what is in this? You don't want to know. And I'm like, why did you make it? Like, oh, this is expired. I'm gonna put it on anyway. It's just Dad. But no, they've got some bonding time, and then because Matrix has been trained that all of his senses are heightened.
He's like Wolverine.
Very much so. He
heightened hearing, heightened smell, which we'll get to here in a few minutes.
Exactly. So he hears a helicopter approaching, like, from the moment of liftoff, apparently.
As they're fueling it.
Right. Someone mentioned 700 miles away, we need to go see Matrix. And
Somebody scrambled a chopper.
Yeah.
Oh.
You know, he hears him come in, and then he pulls a trick out of Jenny's playbook, and he sneaks up on Kirby. You know, Kirby basically he informs him of the cold open. And your guys have been getting murdered. Apparently they're in this like super secret special ops, and your guys are getting killed, and we're worried they're coming for you next. So you are the world's predominant super soldier, so I'm going to leave a couple guys behind. It's like being like Jason Momoa's bodyguard, or like, you didn't need one. So we're going to leave a couple of our guys behind to protect you. And then, we're going to try to keep our visit real quiet by flying in a helicopter. Yes. And then flying it right back out.
Hope no one notices.
Right. We don't want people to know where Matrix lives. But apparently, our terrorists, for lack of a better word, our terrorists apparently they can just like teleport where they need to be because they're already there at Matrix's compound. So as Kirby flies away, we see the garbage man from the beginning pop up from behind a bush and just open fire.
Immediately takes out one of the two guards that's been assigned and hits the other one.
Yeah. And so Matrix and Jenny get into the house. Go ahead.
As a Matrix, he like, huh? And like does like a tuck and roll into the house.
He takes Jenny with him. The other soldier kind of carries himself in, and they have this fun little exchange of, Matrix, are you gonna make it? Yeah, I'll be all right. Well, remember, we're downwind. What'd you do? Smell them? What do you want me to do? Smell them coming? I did.
Like Wolverine or Black Panther.
I know. Like, it's just like, it's just he's
a super soldier, like you mentioned.
Steve Rogers here. And so mind-boggling decision. Let's get in the house. Jenny, go hide. I have to go out to the shed and get my guns.
To his arsenal.
Right. I have to go out to the shed where I keep my guns. I know that there is a terrorist trying to murder us as we speak, but you go hide under your bed. They'll never look for you there.
No. Yeah. Go hide in the most obvious place possible.
And I am going to separate from you to go get my guns. And so that plan obviously doesn't work out. They kill the other soldier. They kidnap Jenny. How long do you think Matrix was gone?
Good 20 minutes.
It had to have been. Because by the time...
Which firearm should I get?
Because by the time...
The big one, the medium one, the little one.
The Uzi 5mm.
I can't decide. I'm in a pickle.
Kirby, what gun should I use? But like by the time he gets back, the other guy's murdered and then staged to fall from a door. The killer's sitting there waiting for Matrix to arrive. His daughter's already been found, kidnapped, and is like half a mile away. Like, how long were you gone? They had time to like just dump a bunch of wires into the hood of his truck. Like he lived, so Matrix is like, what's going on? Hey, we just want to talk, just play games with us and we'll save your daughter. So he kills the guy, goes out, he's going to jump in his Bronco. The Bronco, like I said, lifts the hood, realizes that there's just loose cables sitting in there now. Because apparently Ford Broncos have more wiring than Bane.
It's an electrician's nightmare.
So many hoses in the Ford Bronco's engine. Mm-hmm. So he just, forget it, I'm going to put her in neutral and just push her down the hill.
Yep.
And that's what he does. And, like to talk about it's so silly, but it's so awesome. Like, just to think, like, in the writer, like the script, the screenwriter sitting back and like, I'm going to create a soldier that is unstoppable. And these are the things he's going to do. Mm-hmm. My truck doesn't work. I'm not going to let that stop me. So he hops in behind the wheel, and thankfully he lives at the top of a hill.
Yeah.
So he pushes the Bronco downhill. My favorite part of this is when one vehicle is driving and he looks at him and he sees him coming and he goes, he's coming right for us, and then makes no effort to apply his own brakes.
No. It's like that scene in Austin Powers
yes.
where the steamroller's coming at that guy. No!
It's like he's coming right for us. It's like, then hit your brakes and let him roll by. You know he has no brakes, but they don't, of course. And so, he gets.
I already put it in cruise control.
I can't do anything. And so, we get to the end. Matrix fights off a couple of guys. He just gets overpowered, and he gets shot with one of the immediately fast-acting tranquilizer darts.
Yeah, that was.
So I would have thought they would have tried to keep Bennett's survival quiet a little longer, because we see Bennett die, and then this is only like 5 minutes later in the movie, and Bennett steps out from behind the guys, and Matrix realizes that Bennett's in on it. It's like, you didn't establish Bennett as a character prior to this, so this reveal doesn't hold a lot of water.
Surprise, this character that you didn't know nor care about is still alive.
Remember when you saw him die? Guess what? He didn't die. But is he important? You don't know yet. And so, we're kind of blabbing here a little bit. So we take Matrix to, like you said, Arius, the former dictator of Valverde. And he basically says, hey, you and your guys overthrew my regime, and now I need you to overthrow his regime so I can have it back. Because it's either his or mine. And if you don't do it, I'm going to murder your daughter. So we're going to put you on a commercial flight.
Makes sense.
We're going to put you on a commercial flight, fly you down there so you could do your dirty work.
Put you on Spirit Airlines.
Exactly. You have like 13 hours or whatever to do it. And so, that's... Go ahead.
Bennett drops him at the airport with like a chaperone.
Right. Yeah. It's like, here's a tiny little guy. He's going to make sure you get on the plane with this big guy. And once you're on the plane,
we get a Schwarzenegger. I'll be back.
Yeah,
Bennett.
we do, and he makes sure he grabs his door to tell him that.
Yeah,
and so hops on this direct flight from LAX to Valverde, and so they get on there. And Matrix, thankfully, he's got his whole I envision him having one of those little notepads in his pocket full of one-lighters just ready to drop.
Yeah.
So he gets on the plane, and one of the first things he does is he kills the guy that's guarding him.
Right away, 20 seconds in.
Yeah, elbows him in the face, and then breaks his neck, and then puts his hat on him and asks for a pillow and blanket, and it's, don't disturb my friend, he's dead tired. It's like, oh, look at that. It's early stage Mr. Freeze is what we've got here. And
everybody chill.
The plane takes off. Schwarzenegger just gets up, and the stewardess is like, "Sir, you can't be up." But apparently back in the 80s, if you have air sickness, you could just walk about the cabin. It's fine.
Yeah, he had air sickness while they were still on the runway.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not feeling well. So he goes.
I also feel seasick.
Right. Yeah, the motion sickness. I have to sit in the front seat. And so he takes the elevator down. He knows his way around because he's it's no surprise that they named that Keanu Reeves movie The Matrix, because John Matrix apparently knows everything. And in The Matrix, you could be programmed to learn whatever you need. And so Matrix knows the inner workings of this DC-10 airline, this airplane, finds the elevator, works his way to the bottom, and he's going to leave the plane. So physics don't apply to John Matrix.
The plane takes off. He jumps off the wheel, which he's now clinging to.
Yeah.
And then there's a weirdly edited shot of it looks like, because the plane is barely off the ground.
Right.
Just a matter of feet. And then it cuts to this wide shot of a man just falling against sky.
Yeah. Falling straight down, because physics would be if the plane is in motion forward, then his body would still fall forward as he's falling, but not this one. This body just falls straight down into the bogs of Los Angeles.
Yes, yeah, boggy LA.
He falls right into the marsh. And sets his clock because he knows exactly when they're going to murder his daughter.
That's a really loud clock, too, by the way, honestly.
Counts down every second.
The volume on that Casio turned up all the way.
Every second, very audibly, just so Matrix could keep account of. So he's got, what was it, 11, 12, 13 hours or something.
Something like that. Half a day.
Yeah, so he's got a half a day, which takes about 2.5 days to elapse. And so he knows, I got to get back to Sully. I got to get back to the airport. Knowing he's not very far from the airport, he gets back to the airport before Sully even leaves, which is convenient.
Yeah.
Sully, you know, it's like, it is the 80s, which they don't have the slowed down process of security that we have in this post 9/11 world. But I would still think like Sully walked him to the gate and then immediately left. And Matrix boarded the plane, waited for taxiing, took off, landed, swam through the marsh, and still made it back to the airport before Sully got to his car.
Well, you know, Sully was too busy hitting on Cindy.
He did. I was getting there. Like, yeah, Sully stops to hit on Cindy, and you know, like any nice guy in the 80s, when you approach a woman and you are trying to present yourself for a relationship and she's not interested
as a potential suitor,
right? And when she's not interested, the best course of action is just to insult her extremely vigorously, and then, you know, walk away. You know, let her know that she's disappointed you. Because that's apparently was Cindy's primary role, was you're supposed to be open to any relationship presented to you. And so, yeah, so Matrix is following Sully. He sees Sully come on to Cindy, doesn't want anything to do with it. So he follows Cindy and, you know, he gets Cindy into Cindy's car, like rips the seat out, you know, the passenger seat out of her car, and then tells her, follow him. And, oh, I was afraid you were going to say that. Like, Cindy's pretty good. She didn't put up a whole lot of fight, you know, but again, it is Arnold Schwarzenegger. I would probably go along with a lot of what he would recommend.
Well, like no shrieking, no screaming,
no.
Like just
okay. All right. So she assumes that he's also a crazed person.
Which, I mean, he just took her hostage.
Right. Oh, no, I agree. I think that's a right assumption.
I think Cindy's intuition is onto something there.
So Sully is on his way to the Galleria Mall because he's got to meet up at a very public place with a lot of people around to finish some sort of transaction they're doing.
He's got to go to the sunglasses.
Yeah. So yeah, he's got a briefcase of money. And it's exchanged for something. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter.
Sully's suit is way too big.
Very, very much so.
Way too big. It reminds me of, do you remember the Simpsons arcade game?
Oh, yeah.
At the end of, I think it was the first level, there was like two big goons you had to fight. There was one big dumb guy, and then there was another guy, like a short guy, who was wearing basically the same size suit as the big guy.
Okay.
So it went past his ankles and went over his wrists.
Yeah.
I think that's what Sully was trying to do.
Sully was in way too big of a suit. So,
yeah.
You know, Matrix tells Cindy, I need you to go hit on him. So she does. Or he sees her and he, you know, oh, I knew you couldn't pass on it. Well, at first she went up to a mall security guard, and there's apparently 17 to 18 of them on duty this day.
That's a big mall security force.
Yeah, very, very large. Pre-mall Blart, where he could do it all himself.
Yeah, just one-man band.
So she says, you know, there's this big guy over there, and he's kidnapped me, and so mall security is now after him. They start fighting with Matrix. Of course, he has no problem fighting these guys off. Sully sees that Matrix is there, finds a quarter in Cindy's pocket, you know, because he heads. And so we just got another big mall fight. You know, Sully goes to make a phone call. Schwarzenegger as Matrix. He's swinging from a balloon, like across Tarzan style. Lands on the elevator. At one point, he picks up the phone booth that Sully is in and like slams it to the ground. And so Sully gets away because Matrix is still having to fight off, you know, the swarm of mall security.
Take a ticket mall cops.
It's the crazy 88s all working mall security.
Your turn to get punched. Okay.
Sully gets away, but, you know, and Matrix is after it. Well, Cindy now, after seeing Sully pull a gun on Matrix, realizes Matrix must be the good guy.
Well, and kind of, I think, realizes that he was telling the truth.
Yeah.
Because he kind of gave her, like, the 20-second version of things.
Right.
And she saw that, wait a second, this guy does know who he is.
Yeah.
Maybe
so,
he might be onto something.
So she shows up in her, like, Fiat or whatever it is. And, of course, Sully's in a Porsche, and they go equal speeds. And so Matrix, she pulls up, gets Matrix in the car, and they chase him down. And there's got the fun little car chase, and they they end up like putting Sully's car on its side, and Matrix and Cindy just like barrel into a telephone pole.
Yeah, they do. They hit that thing hard.
They just wrap it around. Neither one of them had seatbelts on because Matrix didn't even have a seat. He ripped it out.
Yeah.
But thankfully, again, physics don't apply to John Matrix. So when they hit this at full speed, neither one of them go flying from the car. He just, are you okay? I think so. And then, I got to go tend to Sully. So, he had already told Sully that he thought he was funny and he was going to kill him last, but he lied. So he takes Sully, holds him upside down by his ankle, and drops him off a cliff. Cindy, who was literally feet away from this incident, then asks Matrix, what happened to Sully? Were you not paying attention, Cindy?
Yeah. I had to let him go.
Yeah. And, okay. So they, flip the car back over, and he finds a key to a hotel. Well, he took it from Sully's pocket before he disposed of him. So now we're on to Cook. Matrix knows that because he found a hotel key, this obviously is where Sully was going to meet Cook. Hence the Sherlock Holmes in the movie Marriage. John Matrix is very quick to figure out the plot.
He is. He immediately knows where the hotel is. He immediately knows who's going to be there, what's going to happen.
Because he's in L.A. and it's like the Sunspot Hotel or something like that. Well, I know where that's at. It's probably on Rodeo.
It's like that SNL sketch, The California.
Oh yeah, you just catch the 405.
You just catch the 405. What are you doing here?
I do love that sketch. I'm just going to hop off of Mulholland, and so
bum, bum.
Oh no, and so Matrix and Cindy end up at the hotel. They get there before Cook, thankfully. Cook shows up in his giant Cadillac.
Is it the same one that he stole?
No, it wasn't. The one he stole was it was the same one. It was the same one.
Nothing like being inconspicuous there, Cook.
Yeah, way to go. Cook doesn't care. He's Bill Duke. So he shows up, but of course, Matrix turns on the shower, tells Cindy, that you basically just let him know Sully's in the shower. And it's like, Cindy's on board with this whole plan.
And right before Cook opens the door, Schwarzenegger rips her blouse off a couple of buttons.
Yeah. And then holds it there. So it doesn't slam shut again. It's her clamshell blouse she has on.
So it was a slap bracelet technology.
Doesn't want that to shut. So so Cook comes in and they have another fight. They get into this punching match. Cook tells him that he's a Green Beret. Matrix tells him that's what he had for breakfast. They're throwing each other through block wall. And I do love a line out of Cindy as she's like crouching and watching this. She just says something about just this masculine, like this psycho, just muscle, and
a little meta commentary.
Yeah, and I really enjoy that because it's exactly what this movie is. Like, you don't fit as the female, but that's what this movie is.
We even had the sequence where, again, very loud fight as well.
Yeah,
there's gunshots.
Oh yeah, it's gunshots.
And people yelling, and then and this is one of those hotels that has the door to the adjoining room.
Yeah, everything's adjoined.
Yeah, and Bill Duke gets thrown through the door, to which there's a couple in there having a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, you surprised us.
You're right. I do love it.
We get the topless 80s woman scene.
Yeah,
which is in every in every 80s movie.
As long as she is as long as she has had a enhancement job done.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy the fact that there is like a knockdown, drag out fight next door with gunshots, and these people don't even stop having sex. Like,
they're really into it.
And I don't know what they were doing because when Cook went flying through the door, she was behind him. And so I don't even know what they were doing.
Hey, guys, to each their own.
I guess so. They were trying to keep to themselves. They were the ones interrupted.
Shh, shh.
And, so Cook hops up, thinks he has another bullet. Matrix apparently knew he didn't.
He was counting.
Because he just pulled a gun aimed right at his face and pulls the trigger, and Matrix doesn't even flinch. But instead, gives him the old vampire treatment and flips him up over his shoulder onto an upside down table. He pulls one straight out of From Dusk Till Dawn and puts him on a table leg, to which Cindy's over there like dry heaving. And well, hey, now but the unfortunate thing is they don't get an answer out of Cook before he dies.
Before he put a table leg through his chest.
Right. As he's bleeding like extremely thick, syrupy blood out of his mouth.
He's a Green Beret.
That's true. It's true. They don't bleed as easy. And so they're off now. We're gonna take Cook's car. It's we're gonna go and we got to go find where we're headed. So they got a plan. We're going to first we got to arm up. So Matrix tells Cindy that Arius is going to kill Jenny no matter what, and so I've got to get to Jenny before I'm supposed to kill the president. And so Matrix and Cindy somehow they find this warehouse that supplies weapons for Arius.
Yeah, there's like artillery everywhere in this warehouse.
Yeah, it's like heavily artillery. And so Matrix like sneaks in and finds a map and he
find this giant map with coordinates written on it.
Oh yeah. It's like I said.
That's where Jenny has to be.
I guess by saying Sherlock Holmes, I should have gone more like Encyclopedia Brown, because none of these mysteries are very difficult to solve because the clues
at least
are
not
right
for him.
No, not for him. And so thankfully, though, Cindy is working on getting her pilot's license, so she'll be able to fly them to the island. Because Matrix, like you said, Matrix knows exactly where she's at because of the one map they found.
It's a good thing he found Cindy.
Yeah, no kidding. And so first we got to arm up. So they hit Surplus City, this army surplus store, and
Spatula City.
I know.
Spatula City.
I was hoping you'd go there. So they hit.
Buy 12 spatulas, get the 13th for just 1 penny.
Oh, that is coming up in upcoming months.
Mm-hmm. Sneak preview, folks.
So they hit this army surplus store again. Matrix knows the layout of the store. We can't just break in. We have to get a bulldozer.
Yeah, he has to drive a bulldozer through the front of the store.
And then
let's do this discreetly.
And then after they drive through the front of the store, he puts the parking brake back on.
Well, safety first.
Yeah, don't want this to roll away. So he starts arming up in yet another montage of how much can we shove in this supermarket special shopping cart. Cindy is trying her best. The thing that cracks me up about some of this stuff is before he even gets to the secret room, he grabs a shotgun and then there's an open box of shells and he grabs 3 shells. He doesn't just take the box of shotgun shells. No. He's just going to take the loose shells right off the top because he's already planning ahead. I know how many people are going to be there and I only need so many shells. And so he goes behind the counter and he's feeling underneath the counter because he knows there's a secret room behind a secret wall.
Of course there is.
And there was
Surplus City.
There was, and behind this one, of course, everything's backlit. It's full on showroom. He probably knew about it from his Terminator days. And so Cindy's very surprised by all this, and she runs a load out to the car, which is just parked outside, and then Matrix is right behind her, but the police show up.
Oh no!
No.
What could have tipped them off?
I don't know.
certainly wasn't the bulldozer.
And I doubt Surplus City has got any type of security system. Mm-hmm. That he didn't try to circumvent. He just drove through it with a bulldozer. So he is immediately arrested by the police, and we cut to a quick outside view of we've got a paddy wagon and we've got squad cars and we've got a dozen police officers, and nobody recognizes this Cadillac with Cindy in it, just parked around the corner, chock full of artillery. And so Cindy, they take him away in a paddy wagon. Cindy hops in the Cadillac, follows him down, and pulls up next to her. And the cops, they're look out the window, and she's kind of smiles, and they're like, hooker. Immediately, she's a woman of the night. We know it.
Yep.
And as police officers, we're fine with it because whatever. But as the wagon drives away, she stands up. Cop and the passenger's like, "Ooh, we're gonna get a show." Well, no, she gets out the rocket launcher.
Yep.
And accidentally fires a rocket in the wrong direction before turning it around. And then, the second time she's ever fired a rocket launcher, spot on, hits it right where it needs to be hit.
Exactly.
Matrix, who is handcuffed and unsecured in the back, as this thing flips over, he's fine. He's fine. He's got a cough, but other than that, he's all right.
Good shots, Indy.
Yeah. Did we mention that he's really Colossus from the X-Men? Impenetrable. He's fine. So, we just leave the cop, and for some reason, an abandoned mega street in LA. This is a multi-lane. I think it was 4 lanes wide. Not a car in sight.
No.
Nowhere around. Whatever. They're all at the mall still. And so we head to the marina so we can take a seaplane, which is actually, according to Cindy, just a canoe with wings. Because got to have our comic relief. And so with also impenetrable iron exterior, because they're loading this as this army jeep. Again, we're in America still, but apparently the Valverde army is there.
Oh, the embassy was right there in the water.
That's true. So they come up and they're opening fire on the airplane. Nothing penetrates the shell of this plane. So Cindy's trying to get it to take off. She can't figure it out. Matrix just hit the console, and it worked. You just got to yell at it, and it turned on, and they fly away. And so they fly to Arius's island hideout, his compound.
Not before Cindy evades the Coast Guard's radar by
flying. Oh, that's true. That's true.
By flying under the radar.
You just go underneath. It's like the Coast Guard's radar is the equivalent of a lighthouse beam.
Yeah. And
as long as you can avoid the beam, you're
fine.
You're off radar. It only looks in one direction. And so, she completely just avoids the radar. They land off the coast of the island compound, so that they have a reason for Matrix to use the life raft that they took from the Army surplus store. The inflatable raft. So he
strips down to his underwear first.
Oh, yeah. So we could see almost all of Schwarzenegger. He rows himself to the beach, and we get another montage of him.
Yeah, we do.
Getting dressed and tiger striping himself.
Zipping up various articles.
So many zippers.
Lots of zippers.
I was waiting for someone to tell him to bring out the GIMP. It's so many zippers. But no, and then he's got this black deodorant that he just keeps like I said, giving himself zebra stripes so he can blend in. But he does look cool. I'll give him that.
He does, yeah. The end result.
Yeah.
Despite the zippers and the antiperspirant.
Right. Everything's a zipper on this. I think he's wearing 6 different boots. And they all require zipped up.
Like Russian nesting doll boots.
I know. It's he's wearing boots, pants, and a cutoff. And yet he's got so many zippers. He's so trusting. He hangs he's hanging grenades by the pin. Just hoping that they don't fall off because, you're not going to be able to put the pin back in.
Those are surplus city grenades. Everybody knows those are the best.
True. Yeah, those are the best ones. If you're going to rob a surplus store, go big. And so, he tells Cindy, you stay on the plane, you keep trying to get a hold of General Kirby. I'm going to go check out the villa, and in the process, kill every human being on the island.
Yeah.
And blow up every building on the island except the building my daughter's in, because I know in advance where she's at.
Yeah. We get the, as he's prepping, it's sneaking up, we get the Arnold peeping around the corner meme.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I forgot that was in this movie.
I did too, but yeah, so we get Arnold peeking around the corner, and he's just a one-man army. He's taking, and apparently everybody that works as security on this island, they go as stormtroopers for Halloween because nobody can hit anything.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the exact same thing. Like these guys went to the same rifle range as the stormtroopers.
Yeah, so they can't hit a thing. Matrix can get everybody with one shot. Every knife he throws.
Yeah, it's all 27 of his knives.
That's right. He's machete out here. And so, meanwhile, like, they sense that Matrix is back. Like, Arius knows, just he and Bennett, we've got sirens going and explosions, and like, Matrix is here. Like, at this point, why did they've got no reason to assume Matrix is not where he should be, but yet they seem unsurprised that he killed everybody in his path that is now on his way. Like, they're like, right on time. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So, they have Bennett go lock Jenny in this gigantic ballroom by herself. But she escapes, and now Bennett's after her. And so Matrix is still killing everybody off. He gets into a firefight with Dan Hedaya.
Well, not before. I will pause for a moment. Before he gets trapped in a shed.
Oh yeah, the shed trap.
He gets trapped in a shed, and like a dozen guys surround it and just light it up.
Yep.
So they go to check on him because nothing could have survived that.
No.
And he does the hero clinging to the ceiling thing.
Yeah, he Spider-Mans it.
Yep. Shoves a pitchfork at a guy.
Oh yeah.
Has grabbed some circular saw blades and just throwing them like frisbees.
Yeah. And they're just scalping people.
Yeah.
Like, chops one guy's arm off. Like,
yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's brutal, but it's just fun. Like, it's just so, as an impressionable youth, like, watching this, like, this movie was just one of my favorites because it's just, you didn't have to understand anything going on.
No.
Everything was visual right there in front of you. So, Bennett's still chasing Jenny. Apparently they end up in the boiler room of the entire island.
Of the Valverde boiler room.
Right. They end up there, and Matrix also ends up there. Jenny, who has been pretty resourceful at keeping herself hidden, puts way too much stock in her dad. Like, she knows Bennett is after her. It's literally the person she's running from. She hides. He can't find her. She hears her dad's voice from like 300 yards away. And she's like, Dad? And like hops up and like completely blows her cover.
Yeah.
Bennett's right on top, and he's got her now, and so we get the final face-to-face showdown.
Come on, Bennett, let's party.
Yeah, and Matrix again, master of psychology.
That he is.
He's been master of all. Understands that like Bennett has a gun, and Matrix is like, you don't want to shoot me. That's too quick, Bennett. Come on.
Yep.
And
he plays on Bennett's like inferiority complex.
Oh, huge. And it works. They go head to head in a knife fight. Matrix throws him against like he electrocutes him.
Yeah.
Throws him against like a circuit breaker box. And it's straight out of the 80s, so naturally it's throwing sparks and
you get the
like he's screaming like but it completely like it recharged his batteries apparently. He's now maxed out. Now every punch hits harder, and
it's like when Iron Man and Thor are fighting in the first Avengers film, and Thor throws the lightning at him, and it like charges Iron Man's suit up to like 400%,
and it surprises him. But yeah, it's exactly what it is. Only like Bennett is wearing chainmail, like.
The whole movie, by the way. He's wearing chainmail.
And it's like, and it's not like medieval chainmail. It's It's like a bodysuit made out of the gloves that they put, like they give you if you work at the butcher's, so you can't accidentally cut your hand. It's real tight chainmail. So it's like, this is a man literally dressed in metal, falls against the electrical board, and lives. Like, there's no reason why this should have worked, but it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Bennett. Bennett comes out swinging. And we get the final showdown where Matrix just slings a steam pipe at him,
Mm-hmm.
like penetrates him and pins him to the wall, steam billowing out, and you had to let off some steam.
Yeah, you could take that line.
yeah, it's there. So at this, apparently Cindy got a hold of Kirby because they come flying in. Like, jurisdiction doesn't matter. You can just fly wherever you want. And
it's Valverde.
If you're looking for John Matrix, then international boundaries do not apply. You just go where you want.
He transcends.
He does
borders.
Well, yeah. When your top American soldier is East German, that stuff works. And so Matrix and Jenny come out, and Cindy, comes out of the plane, having never met Jenny, but yet greets her with a nice big hug. No stranger danger in the Matrix household. And Kirby's like, hey, we could get your crew back together. And I'm like, well, you can't, because we literally just watched them all die. But no chance. And then crashing rock anthem as we hit the credits, and
some awful 80s song.
But awesome 80s song, just awful song. Like
awesome 80s awful song.
Yeah, I feel that's fair, because it's like, if you were to play this for anybody born in the 2000s and ask, what decade do you think the song came from? There's no doubt about it. It came from the 80s.
Oh, it's the 80s, yes. 1980s.
And so that's what it feels. This song at the end of this movie has all the feel of like the song from Karate Kid, it just has that, like, yep, this is an 80s power ballad made for a movie.
Yes, it is.
And there you go. And so that's Commando.
That's Commando, folks. At this point of the show, Oz and I each give our own unique rating to the film we've been yapping about. In this case, Commando. Oz, how would you rate this flick?
8 rocket launchers.
8 rocket launchers?
Yeah. Or 8 circular saws to the head. I don't know. It's 8. It's getting an 8.
8. Okay. I'm going to go with, let's go with 63 memberships to Surplus City for me.
That works. Because this does seem to be a subscription-based surplus store. It's like in the early 80s with video stores. Like, you had to pay to be in the club. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what this is.
Next up, folks, we got Outside Insight, where Oz and I have each scoured the interwebs for unprofessional reviews, which we will share with you and also make fun of said author. Oz, what is your Outside Insight?
I've got 2 here, and I'm going to go ahead and drop them both. But the first one is a 4-star review from Matt Singer on Letterboxd. He says, I find this movie very relatable.
I find this movie relatable.
Yeah.
I can relate with John Matrix.
As a father of 2 daughters, I would do anything for my kids. Also, I love bad one-liners and can break steel chains and padlocks with my bare hands.
It's got so much in common with John Matrix.
4 stars. And the second one, which actually has like 900 likes on Letterboxd, 5-star review, rewatched by Richard. It just says, perhaps the single most important film ever made.
Oh, that's a bold statement.
Yeah, right.
It's the most important. There's so much meaning to draw from this movie.
Perhaps it's the same. But yeah, I like the first one. I just find this movie very relatable. Like,
got so much in common with John Matrix.
Obviously written tongue in cheek, but it's still funny. So those are my 2 outside insights. How about you?
My outside insight comes from the Internet Movie Database. This comes from Meshborg6811.
Oh boy,
left just a couple years ago. 10 out of 10. The subject, a Commando performance. And then we got one sentence: the holy trinity of 80s action films: Predator, Total Recall, and Commando, and Arnie in all 3.
Okay.
Total Recall was made in 1990, by the way.
Yeah. It's the Holy Trinity.
Holy Trinity. So this Meshborg 6811 found a spiritual awakening by watching these films.
It's like he ends his not with the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost,
but the Predator, the Total Recall, and the Commando. Praise to you.
Yeah, it's like there's you can't say Holy Trinity of Arnold movies there's not Trinity of them, but yeah, it's the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity of 80s action films.
And on the seventh day, God created Arnold. Nice.
Yep. And folks, we're at that point of the show you've all been waiting for. Our signature segment, the 3-2-1, in which Oz and I each share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the film in question. In this case, 1985's Commando. Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first one is, this is just a textbook example of just don't think about it.
Yeah.
Like, everything is on screen or mentioned in this movie. Like, there's no figuring it out. There's no internal monologue. Everything is laid right out there in front of you, and it's believable how quickly he solved all the mysteries or whatever. that it probably really only took him 11 hours to get it all done. So, my second one is just so much saxophone.
80s saxophone.
Oh, love it. So much saxophone. And my third one is, I always have liked Radon Chong in this movie as the comic relief and really commentary on the film.
Sure.
The kind of meta piece that she dropped at the hotel is just fun, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed her performance even as a kid, and now that I'm older and wiser, it's just fun. You just feel like without her, this movie is to be taken seriously. But they add her element as a tongue-in-cheek. And,
she's kind of the audience stand-in.
Yeah, and it's just
like
fun.
you're watching the movie with the Cindy character,
right? Yeah, and it is kind of fun. It's like there's no doubt in your mind Matrix is going to win, but you find yourself kind of rooting for Cindy in this movie. And I'm glad they didn't give them like a romance scene or it's like,
yes, I was thankful for that.
And because it just wouldn't have fit. You're trying to save your daughter. Don't stop to do that. So they there's no doubt that they probably did form a relationship and move forward, but I'm just glad it didn't happen in the movie. So,
Jenny, go behind the boiler. Cindy and I need a moment.
Go over there. I saw something at a hotel I want to try.
Cindy, stand behind me.
Get behind me. So yeah, I'm sure after said movie he probably finished unbuttoning her shirt at some point. But I hope he was as delicate with her as he was with the fair maiden in Conan.
At the beginning of Conan, yeah.
So those are my 3 goods. What are yours?
Before I get to my 3 goods, Oz, correct me if I missed something. Was there ever any mention of Jenny's mother?
I thought about putting this in my Hans and did. And
as I say that, I was hoping I wasn't going to steal a Han.
No, I thought about putting it as my Han, but I'm curious what happened to Mrs. Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious. Like, there is no mention at all of Mom.
Yeah. Which, okay, whatever. I bring that up without judgment. I'm just curious.
Yeah, but it's like he, let's say it was a divorce. Like, things happen, So even though John Matrix seems like an upstanding dude, that doesn't mean that there's no grounds for divorce there somewhere. But it's like, I just hope it was that and not like, oh no, she did,
Yeah.
But you just, I don't know. Like, I'm curious. Like, where is Mrs. Matrix?
Mm-hmm. All right, my 3 goods. The first and foremost, he's a good dad.
He is a good dad.
Yeah, like at the beginning of the movie, they have the fun montage. They pet the wild deer.
Right.
But he's a good dad. And it's not just, like the whole bit like dad's out to get captured daughter. Of course, that factors in. But well before that, and there are a few moments before, the plot really took off. He's a good dad. He cares about his kid. She cares about him. They have a good relationship.
Yeah, I did read in the trivia that Schwarzenegger really liked this script because he had said that, outside of all of the killing, he goes, I'm a good person. Yeah. And he really is in this movie. Like, they do enough, even though it's a montage, they establish he loves his daughter and he is dedicated to their life.
Yeah.
And then that's disrupted and he's ready to get back to it.
Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, he's a good dad. Second of all, I love the pacing. There's no wasted motion in this movie.
No.
Within minutes, Arnie's house is getting ambushed, and they've taken Jenny. So no wasted motion. It just goes. It's an hour and a half. I'm glad it's only an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It's just it's tight, and it just goes, and that's what this movie should be.
Yep.
And the last one, let's go with Vernon Wells' crazy eye acting.
Yeah, he didn't leave it all on the Mad Max 2 set.
Yeah. Yep, he saved a little bit from there, and he brought his crazy eye acting to this game.
For sure.
All right, Oz, what are your two bads?
On the Vernon Wells front, Vernon Wells versus Arnold is just not overly believable. And that's and that's not fair to Vernon Wells, because really at this stage of the 80s, Schwarzenegger versus anybody is not really believable. Unless you're putting out some sort of like professional wrestler, but then you're sacrificing acting talent. So, they went with the option of let's take a big dude, but he was doughy and like he didn't look like he was going to be able to go toe to toe. So the final showdown with Schwarzenegger it just was a little, not hard to watch, but it was just like, there was no doubt how it was going to end.
Yeah, of course.
And so my second one is, all right, we have a crashed crashed Bronco experience. We have a fall from an airplane. We have a car crash into a post. We have a fight with Cook. We have a paddy wagon rollover explosion. And yet John Matrix goes completely unscathed until like the final fight.
Yeah.
So that's my second bad, is it's, yes, we're rooting for him because that's what we're supposed to do. But like, he's not even remotely vulnerable. Like, he's been in so many like collisions that should have killed him, and nothing hurt him. So
I never thought of the Colossus comp earlier, but like, you're not too far off. Like,
yeah,
he just armors up, and then we'll take that street light at 50 miles an hour,
right, without a seatbelt, no problem. Yeah. And but yeah, he just kind of gives that Colossus like, I'm impenetrable. You can't hurt me. And so that's my second bad. It's just completely unscathed until the big bad showdown where he just gets like a knife cut.
Yeah.
Even when Bennett shoots him at like point blank range, it just grazes his shoulder. Like, that's it. It doesn't shoot him, he just nicks him. So
it should have made a ting sound as it bounces off of him.
Exactly. Or slow-mo as it hits him and then like collapses on itself and just falls at his feet. So.
Like in what's that, Superman Returns, where the bad guy shoots him in the eye and the bullet just collapses. Yeah.
So what are your two bads?
My two bads. First of all, both Dan Hedaya's acting as well as the casting of Dan Hedaya himself. Oh man, what were they thinking? First of all, Dan Hedaya, is he Greek or he's Southern European? I can't remember exactly like his, where his lineage comes from, but like, he's not Cuban, he's not South American.
Right. They should. I know it's way ahead of the time, but it would have been fun to like envision casting Steve Carell as Michael Scott as his Greek, like his Greek interpretation.
Well, I mean, Dan Hedaya and Steve Carell are both about as hairy.
Oh yeah, they are. Yeah,
they're both very hairy men. And then the casting of Dan Hedaya, he's just chewing the scenery here as well. So again, coming from the Max von Sydow, Tony Hopkins School of Acting.
Yeah. Dan Hedaya is 82 years old and born in New York.
Okay.
To a Jewish family from Syria.
Syria. Okay.
Yeah. So
not South America, not Cuban, not Latin American. Yeah.
Syrian. My favorite Dan Hedaya parts from this movie are his facial reactions when someone insults him. Like, you are a dictator that was overthrown, and when Jenny says something to you, I don't remember what it was, but he says something to her threateningly, and she just kind of spouts back at him, and then he like backs up with this look of shock and horror on his face, like he's never been insulted to his face before. And there's like 2 or 3 incidents of those where just the look on his face is just like just pure terror. Like, oh my, like, and we're supposed to believe that, yeah, this is the guy that's gonna overthrow. So
all I could think of with 80s Dan Hedaya, he had a recurring role on Cheers of all things.
Okay.
As Carla, Rhea Perlman's Carla's like ex, I don't know if it was ex-husband or ex-lover or something. Okay. And he would just like every season he would just pop up and he would like woo her because Carla has an ear thing and he knew that. And so, like, he would come back because they have like 8 kids together or something like that, despite the fact that she works like 6 hours a day for 12 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly.
So he would pop back up every year and woo her, and that just for her to tell him to buzz off. Like that was like that was an episode every season of Cheers.
And it's like my memories of Dan Hedaya is like the lawyer in the Addams Family movie. Like, so it's just so like. Again, scene chewing, but like in the other end of just whatever. But yeah, I agree. Dan Hedaya was maybe they were low on budget and he was just available.
Yep. And my other bad, kind of like with Conan last week, don't take this movie seriously, folks. Guns are bad. Violence is bad. Vigilantism. Bad.
Yeah.
Bunker full of guns. Bad. These are all bad things that John Matrix does. It's fiction.
Yep.
Let it be fiction, folks.
Yep.
Do not emulate.
It was fiction in the 80s and probably received more as fiction in the 80s than it is today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's not a hero in the classic sense. So don't emulate John Matrix, folks.
Yeah, if you're going to take any kind of role model message from this, it's love your daughter.
Yes. Yeah, he's a good dad.
Yeah.
Take that. Emulate that. Emulate the daughter, playfully stick it in the nose with ice cream.
No matter how big, I mean, he's the biggest machoist man on the planet, but still, he loves his daughter unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
Take that route.
Yes, take that, not bunker full of guns.
Right.
All right, Oz, what's your one, huh?
And I kind of mentioned it earlier, but how did the police not see Cindy outside of Surplus City? Like, she's literally in this like locomotive length Cadillac, with like stocked to the brim with the shopping cart of artillery that she took out, and they're surrounding the block, and Cindy just sits in, oh no.
She bites her fingernails.
And so that's my how did they not see her? Like, this movie takes a whole different twist if they're both in the paddy wagon. What's your
I as I told you pre-show, I literally have 8 possible huhs.
I want to know what they are.
I'm going to briefly read off the first 7, and then I'll come back. And some we've mentioned before already. Why doesn't Jenny have a German accent? Why at the beginning does General Kirby have a name tag that says Kirby? Why is this watch so loud? How many mall cops does this mall need or have, and why do they need them? There's 2 there. How did the hotel couple having sex not hear the gunshot or panic afterwards?
Right.
Why did he use a bulldozer to break into Surplus City? Did the bad guy soldiers train at the Stormtroopers rifle range? And then my actual for Commando. How do you train stunt people to get shot?
Well,
because in this movie,
you give them a trampoline.
Yeah, because there's 2 types of deaths in this movie. There's the you get shot and then you do the chicken dance on your way down.
And then there's the you get blown up, so you have to be a Pickle Poopala brother from Big Top Pee Wee.
Exactly, and you do like a double back gainer on your way.
Right. Oh, yeah, it's like they use like the 1984 Olympic men's like, gymnastics team as the stunt doubles in this movie.
There's a great film, and I think we're going to get to this sometime in the coming months. One of my guilty pleasure movies, Loaded Weapon. National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon.
Loaded Weapon 1.
Yes, Loaded Weapon 1. Not to be mistaken with Loaded Weapon 6.
Which didn't happen.
Yes. There's a great sequence at the beginning of the film where he goes to the convenience store for a slushie.
Uh-huh.
And he fights off two robbers who come in, and somehow he blows them up. Like there's like this giant explosion in the convenience store, and he's sitting on the hood of the car. Cuts to him drinking his slushie while these guys do simultaneous like double gainer backflips, and it's like a mirror of each other. And it cuts back to him drinking his slushie, and it cuts back to them doing backflips, cuts back to him, and then they finally land.
Yeah, because he's waiting for them to die. Yeah. Yeah, that's how this was. Like the whole like island compound scene was.
Yeah.
It's a good thing everybody was hiding behind a hedge to hide the trampoline they were going to be jumping off of when he threw a grenade behind them. So yeah, everybody was airborne in this movie.
I felt like Matrix should have been holding up like a point card every time, like one of the
right, exactly
8.7.
You got like Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal like rating their dunks.
Yeah, exactly. Well, folks, that was 1985's Commando. Oz, what do we got in store next week?
It's your week. What do we have in store next week?
Next week, we have one of Arnie's two 1987 blockbusters, The Running Man.
Oh, I love this movie. Based on a Stephen King story.
Yes, based on... Apparently, they don't have a whole lot in common either.
No, they don't.
But the basic framework is there. So we will get to The Running Man next week, Oz, as we continue 80s Arnold month.
Kind of a fun little Running Man reference is I've got like Midway Classics on the Xbox, just old arcade. Like it's a game with like 8 to 12 like Xbox versions of the arcade games.
Sure.
And my son was playing them, and he was playing Rampage last week or whatever. Well, what
a great game!
He was rolling through them yesterday. And he stopped at Smash TV.
Yep.
And he's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "Play it, buddy, because
that's a fun game.
It's
Smash
bonkers."
TV. Yeah.
And so I go, "Whoa! Make sure you read how to play first." And he's like, so he's looking at the screen and telling him the right stick is aiming and the left stick is walking, because of course you just fire constantly. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, "That's it." I'm like, "That's it." So he gets in there and he played for probably a good hour.
That was a fun game. That was a hard game, too.
And, very hard. And so I'm just thankful that, because it's very, it's still 8-bit arcade looking. And if you die, it prompts you to add a quarter, but you just like hit start or whatever, and it keeps playing. Yeah. I'm very happy that we didn't have to pay for it, because I bet he'd have been out $50 in quarters before he beat the first level's boss. Yeah. But it was just fun, because he's playing, and picking up, figuring it out, and I'm reading what he's winning. Like, "Hey, buddy, you just won a new toaster. Hey, buddy, you just won." And so
VCR.
It's just fun, because it reminds me a lot of Running Man, of this like game show based violence.
Mm-hmm. And sanctioned violence.
Yeah. And so, Running Man is another one I watched a lot growing up, and I really enjoy that one as well. So I'm excited to cover this one as well. Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Be a fun movie to talk about, my friend.
For sure. So that's a wrap for Commando. Again, you know where to find us on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. What's left of Twitter these days.
The 4 employees it still has.
Exactly. It's, Elon and his cousins. And you watch us on YouTube, catch us on your favorite podcast app. But we are going to come back again next week for, like we said, The Running Man. It's a 5-week month, which is exciting, because there's a lot of Arnie to cover in the 80s. Yeah.
Who loves you, and who do you love?
Right. Thanks, Richard Dawson. I'm putting my money on Ben Richards and The Butcher of Bakersfield. It's kind of a sexy movie too, which is, like they just really stylize it up. And
they do.
I think Paula Abdul did the choreography
for the Running Man dancers.
Yeah. So it's just fun. You got Jesse Ventura and Dynamo and
Jim Brown.
Fun little story I'll tell next week. Remind me, because I'll forget. I've got a kind of interesting story about Buzzsaw to share. So Buzzsaw of all people. So, but we'll talk about that next week. Again, make sure you tell people that where we're at and share what we're doing, because we're in year 2 and it's been a lot of fun. And we're going to be back next week with Running Man. So for Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we'll see you next week.